Who's ready for Sunday dinner? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We're going to cook these amazing short ribs that I braised for a few hours with fresh herbs, carrots, potatoes. I also sauteed some red cabbage. Just look, these are amazing, braised for hours with fresh herbs. Let's get started. I have granulated garlic and onion in that little dish there, and here you see I'm scanning some of the seasonings, the dried herbs that I'm going to use in this dish. I'm going to go and season both sides of the short ribs. I season one side, turn it over and season another. I have that kicking Cajun season from Wegmans that I use. These don't require, it's not necessary for them to be marinade because they're going to braise for a few hours. And smoked paprika is definitely a staple, especially when I'm cooking meat. Like it goes really well with red meat. So I love smoked paprika. Have this kicking Cajun seasoning that I got from Wegmans. And again, only a couple of these items has salt. Here is a salt-free herb blend from McCormick. And the next one I'm going to use is a garlic and herb blend from McCormick with sea salt. And then I'm going to go in with dried rosemary and thyme. And again, I'm going to thoroughly season one side of these short ribs, turn them over, season the other side with some olive oil, and then I'm going to sear them in my Dutch oven. I'm going in with the thyme, the dried thyme. I'm also going to use fresh rosemary and thyme in the dish. Next, what is that? I think that may be parsley flakes. I can't, me and my parsley flakes. I love parsley. It does add flavor despite what people say. And I'm going in with some olive oil. Then I'm going to turn these over and do the exact same thing on the other side. And I'm going to make sure that everything is nice and coated and begin to sear these in my Dutch oven. Unfortunately, I did not have any actual red wine, but I did have some cooking wine, and that was great. This meal turned out wonderful. You cannot go wrong with short ribs. I'm actually doing 2 batches, though you can see there are 4, and I'm going to do an additional 4. That's just enough for me and my family. We actually had leftovers. So as you can see, everything's nice and seasoned on all sides. Put a little olive oil on there just to make sure that everything spreads evenly on those delicious short ribs. The quality of those short ribs are amazing. So there you have it. Like I said, this does not need to marinate because it will develop a lot of flavor as it's braising in that wine for a few hours. There you go. This is how I season my short ribs. And this is pretty much what I would do for a roast as well. We got our Dutch oven nice and hot. We're going to add a generous pour of olive oil and listen to the sizzle as we sear the short ribs. I love that sound. So a key element in searing is to not overcrowd the pot. We don't want these to begin to steam. We want to make sure that the pot is nice and hot so that we can get the short ribs browned on all sides. We also want to develop those flavor bits at the bottom. That's going to be wonderful when we deglaze with our wine and build the sauce, build our gravy. So we're making sure to sear these on all sides. As I mentioned, I have 2 batches of 4. Then we're going to add onion. I ideally would like to brown the onion, but this is going to braise for 2 hours minimum, so it's really not necessary. The onion is just there to flavor the gravy. We're also going to throw in carrots to flavor our gravy. Again, I'm going to chop some potatoes and carrots to add to eat, but these are just to kind of flavor the braising liquid. This is where you would add bay leaf. I don't think I have any bay leaves, but I will add fresh herbs to this shortly. This is deglazing the pan. Ideally, I would have the fire up a little higher, but since I'm filming, I didn't want too much splatter, but you'll see me begin to kind of loosen up some of the gravy, some of the brown bits at the bottom to add and make this liquid so much more flavorful. So I ended up adding 2 cups of the cooking wine and an additional 2 cups of water. You could add beef broth, but like I said, this is going to braise and develop so much flavor, so really not necessary, but as an extra layer, you can, but I know how to season my food really well, so I don't need the stock. So I'm adding fresh thyme and fresh rosemary. These are going to cook down, and I'm going to fish out the stems later. So we're just going to kind of let this cook, bring this up to a boil for a while, and then put this in the oven. But as you can see, I'm kind of letting everything kind of meld together and get together. You may not need the full 2 cups of water. I know that I added just enough water to make sure that the short ribs were completely covered. And don't forget to add an additional layer of seasoning just to make sure that your gravy will be very nice and seasoned since you used water and not beef stock or something like that. Don't forget garlic if you like it. If not, omit it. Put the lid on, stick it in the oven for about an hour. Short ribs are in a 300-degree oven. Let's get started with the sauteed cabbage. As you can see, I'm adding some of my favorite seasonings, my seasonal, salt, additional paprika that I added accidentally way too much of, but don't worry, it's okay. Then I'm going to add a salt-free McCormick seasoning and onions. I usually add peppers as well, but probably didn't have any at the time. So we're going to let this saute for a while, for about maybe 15 minutes and get nice and soft. And it's going to be delicious and slightly sweet. Here we are after about an hour and 25 minutes. I did peek in and kind of jostle the short ribs around a little. Now I'm going to go in and fish out the stems from the thyme and rosemary. And would you take a look at this dark braising liquid that we have here? It's going to make a great gravy. The dark color comes from the caramelization that we created from searing the short ribs and all those beautiful brown bits at the bottom of this Dutch oven. Now I'm getting ready to add the potatoes and carrots, and I'm going to show you a neat trick that I use to thicken my gravy as I'm cooking the potatoes and carrots. Here I have the potatoes and carrots seasoned to perfection. Now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of cornstarch. Going to add some cornstarch to this, mix it all together, dump it in with the braised short ribs, and this is going to thicken the gravy as well as cook with the vegetables. Of course, I added more than that, but I'm just giving you an idea of what it looks like. So this is checking it about another half hour to check the tenderness of my veggies. I don't want them to be overcooked. And here's the final product. This looks amazing and it tastes perfect. I'm sure that your family will love this. Please let me know when you make this. I definitely want to hear from you. Eating everything up, but I did want to make a point. I ended up taking out the veggies and the short ribs and letting the gravy reduce a little, and I added another cornstarch slurry to kind of thicken the gravy some more. But these are amazingly tender, so flavorful. The cooking wine was perfect. It didn't overpower anything. It just tastes like it was made with love, love, love. This is so great. I can't wait for you guys to make this. Please let me know. Leave me some comments. And if I come up with any improvements to the recipe, I'll definitely let you know. And look at this gravy. This gravy deserves to be in a bottle or something. This is so good. The red cabbage that's sauteed to perfection, very sweet and tender. I have those amazing carrots and potatoes. This was a great meal, guys. And look how tender they are. Look at this, just falling off the bone. Of course, I was having a hard time trying to take these out and film at the same time. I didn't set up my tripod, which was lazy of me. Sorry about that, guys. But this was perfect. This was amazing, and I'm sure that you guys will love it. And you can use this technique with a roast. a tri-tip sirloin roast, 7-bone roast. Just make sure to adjust the cooking time accordingly. But thank you guys for watching. I really enjoyed making this and I can't wait to cook more things. Stay tuned. Don't forget to leave your comments and share this with your favorite person.